Welcome to Poland Daily History with me, Nicholas Richardson. I'm joined in the studio by Professor Krzysztof Jabłonka, and we're discussing today the Polish partitions. Professor, 1772, the first partition, instigated by the Austrian Empire. Why did they do this, and how did they persuade the other powers to join in?
Accidentally, the Bar Confederation became the initiation of the Partitions of Poland. The Bar Confederation was an independence movement which started to change into a patriotic movement due to the uprising of nobility. During these activities, which were later moved to the so-called Spish enclaves, the king's brother, Prince Kazimierz Poniatowski, was attacked in the Lubowna castle. Spish was a territory of Hungary, occupied by Austria, but the Spish towns belonged to Poland. Prince Poniatowski asked the Austrians for help. In 1669, Austria conquered these towns because they were sure that they belonged to Hungary, which pawned them to Poland. And actually, they were right, because there was a pact signed by the Hungarian king who gave this territory to Poland, because he didn't have enough money to pay us. So these towns were taken over by the Austrians. But it was just the beginning of the Austrian aggression. They also conquered two other provinces, Podhale and Sodenszczyzna, the entire borderland. It initiated further partitions because Prussia was very interested in our lands, which divided East Prussia in the east and Brandenburg, Berlin, in the west. They were trying to connect them. Let us remember that the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth was a protectorate of Russia since 1717, when Peter the Great imposed a new law in Poland. According to the law, Poland could not change its system without Tsar's permission. At that moment, it was up to Russia whether the partition was going to take place or not. Catherine the Great wanted the partition to happen because she couldn't handle the Confederation, which was a powerful movement, but erratic at the same time. Its activity was spreading very quickly. This chaos lasted 4 years until Catherine the Great gave the green light to the Prussian army, which invaded Pomerania and connected Kaliningrad to Berlin. At the same time, Russia took over the disputed borderland. This is the history of the first partition of Poland, enacted on January 16, 1772. Austria didn't take part in the second partition because of many reasons. It was betrayed by our partitioners, but also it was engaged in a war with revolutionary France. Due to these circumstances, Prussia and Russia partitioned Poland for the second time. The Austrian military tried to take control over the territories of Volhynia and the Lubelskie region, but had to retreat because the Polish army got in their way. It isn't a very well-known fact that the Austrian army had to go back to where they came from back then. Because Catherine the Great didn't want to agree to Austria's demands, Poles made use of the situation, which led to the reversal of alliances. Prussia was very greedy. They tried to conquer Courland, where German nobility constituted a majority. Then Russia allied with Austria and gave them a huge territory reaching the Pilica, Vistula and Bug rivers. Shortly speaking, the Austrian border was only 10 kilometers away from Warsaw. The Brest fortress became the Austrian-Russian border. At the same time, the three partitioning powers met near the city of Niemirów. The name of the city means lack of peace in Polish. An interesting fact: Austria took over the city of Gnojno, which is Polish for dung, and Russia the city of Zdrada, which is Polish for betrayal. The names of these cities perfectly show the morality of these countries at that time. The three partitioning countries met near those three cities. Austria was not only destroying its own neighbor, but a Catholic country, which means that they were trying to weaken Christianity in Europe. They wanted to destroy the country that saved them from the Turkish doom less than 100 years ago, after the Battle of Vienna of 1683. So in 1772, Austria was trying to destroy its savior.
Professor, many people say that for Poles in the Austrian-controlled territories, life was better. Would you agree?
Przede wszystkim trzeba powiedzieć, że
First and foremost, Poles were the ones who changed Austria. During the Third Partition of Poland, the Austrian partition was the worst. All Polish patriots were imprisoned in the Kufstein and Spielberg fortresses located near Brno. Hugo Kołłątaj and other prisoners were liberated by the Russian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Adam Jerzy Czartoryski. With the passing of time, Austrians changed their opinions about Poles. Austria was responsible for the mass murder of Polish nobility. They started to set Polish peasants on Polish noblemen. They even paid them for cutting off their heads, which was a major crime. In 1867, Austrians changed their opinion about Poles because they were impressed by the strength of the January uprising, which took place in 1863-64. Observing the dispute over the Balkans and waiting for the inescapable war with Russia, Austria decided to grant Poles freedom of religion, the right to education, and so on. They gave them back the Jagiellonian University, the University of Lviv, and the administration. Ukraine got back its autonomy. The only thing that we were lacking was the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the army. Because of all this, Poles decided to cooperate with Austria during the First World War. They even wanted Franz Joseph I of Austria to become King of Poland. The Emperor didn't become the Polish king, but he wanted his cousin, Archduke Charles Stephen of Austria, to take over the Polish throne in 1918. But at the moment of the fall of the Austrian Empire, Poland said goodbye to it without regret, because the empire betrayed Poland at the last moment and gave the disputed territories to Ukraine. 80% of the inhabitants of these territories were constituted by Poles. If it wasn't for the Austrian intrigue, the war with Ukraine would never happen. Ultimately, Poland and Austria parted ways as enemies.
That's all we've got time for on this episode. Thank you for watching, and thank you to Professor Jabłonka for joining us. Do join us again on Poland Daily History, where we delve into the fascinating and long history that is Poland.